Hello everyone, it's Old Guardian here. The Hearthstone community manager Alkali held an Ask Me Anything session on Twitter last night, and I figured it would be interesting also to spread the word on her answers about various things about community Hearthstone content. Not so much about what's going to happen with the game, not so much about mechanics or anything like that, but just the community and the content around Hearthstone. So if you're interested in the community manager's thoughts on that, and well, I guess my thoughts on those answers as well, stay here for a while and let's check it out. So, Alkali, I will answer as many questions as I can. I will not answer questions that pertain to specific creators and their relation with the game. Respect privacy. Alright, let's go. First of all, Clark Hellscream asked, what kind of content do you want to see content creators make, versus what does Blizzard Team 5 want content creators to make? And Alkali responds, I'd personally love to see more news-style content, this week in Hearthstone, but fun, positive, and community-focused. I think this could be very successful, but it needs the right personality to make it warm and inviting. Well, considering that I make news-style content all the time for Hearthstone, I suppose I'm just not warm and inviting. Yeah, well, that's a bit of a bummer right there, but okay. Then Luna asked, what type of content do you feel like is overdone in Hearthstone, and what content do you feel like is underdone? I actually don't feel like there's overdone content in Hearthstone. Our game updates so much with how many content updates we do in a year that even if the same topics are often done, it's usually on a different set. Alright, yeah, I definitely update some of the stuff like 4 or 5 times a year. Most underdone, collaborations. Well, yeah, I have not done any collaborations myself either. On the other hand, this is like an analytical channel, and collaborations are maybe a bit more difficult to do than those personality-focused creators. Then Multisword asked, what quick advice would you give content creators that are more casual, part-timers, or full-time jobs and so on, when they best stand out among the crowd, even if their content is more infrequent? Honest answer, I'm hearing part-time or infrequent not a lot of time. All those things point out to me that the creator should just have the most fun with it as possible. If you already don't have enough time, I wouldn't waste more on how to stand out, just be you and have fun. Alright, it sounds like pretty decent advice actually, because if you're really trying to make a living doing content, then it is really hectic and there's so much work to be done that, yeah, combining that with full-time job, kids and so on, it is quite difficult if not impossible. And also like quitting your job in order to just make content is probably also not a good idea. Ben Heatstone asked, maybe too broad a question, but what are your goals as a community manager for Hearthstone? Do you look to growing Hearthstone to a broader audience? Focus on player retention? What are your hopes for Hearthstone 5 years from now? And Alkali responds, player retention and widening our audience are questions for another team, but I can say that focusing on making our messaging hit more of our global audience is important to me. For example, this post, Ask Me Anythings are cool, but a large portion of our players never see them. Well, hopefully a little bit larger portion will see them thanks to this video, even though I'm not warm and inviting. Then Finals asked, I see a lot of content creators doing well on TikTok for games like LoL and Valorant. Do you think a similar gameplay general Hearthstone content could work too? I think TikTok is a great place for Hearthstone content, just need to get the right personalities behind it. TikTok is best when you let your personality shine. Well, I was one of the first Hearthstone content creators, or maybe the first Hearthstone content creator to do TikTok. I've been doing a lot of word firsts in Hearthstone content, and I couldn't really get it to work. And actually I talked about it with Alkali at one point, that when she was going to make that unofficial Hearthstone TikTok channel, and I was like, okay, I don't think Hearthstone has a lot of chance to succeed there, and I was told that I just don't have the right personality for it, and I just don't do the right kind of content. And then Alkali made the channel, and a bunch of other Hearthstone creators also came to TikTok, and none of them succeeded any better. Actually, they even did worse than I did. So, but yeah, I just don't have the personality for it, and TikTok is going to be great. I really don't believe in that still, like I told her back then, and like evidence has suggested that it just hasn't been working. But I mean, it's possible. Someone might be able to crack TikTok with Hearthstone, but that's gonna be hard. Then Lillidan asks, how does Q1, Q2 look for Hearthstone? Feels like things has gotten really good. Does that reflect in Hearthstone revenue somehow? And Alkali responds, I measure Hearthstone in community happiness. You all seem happy. It is good. Okay. And Robert Cole asked what the community team do that the community isn't really aware of. I know you guys are doing more than just browsing Reddit, Twitter all day. And Alka, I probably can't comment in too much detail here, but I will say that most things the community thinks we do is actually our social team. My job is not social stuff, but that probably confuses you more. Actually, I have encountered this with Blizzard. They seem to have very, very major problems with teams being different teams, even though they kind of work on the same value stream. So as a lean expert, obviously, I think that their processes and their organization are probably very, very suboptimal. And this division between social and community kind of demonstrates that as well. But yeah, it happens. Then Serial for me asks, any advice for those who want to get in the gaming industry? And Alkali responds, I'm not the best person to ask this as I'm fairly new. I started out by volunteering to work, learned for the esports team I was on, and that turned into a part-time job that eventually led to more responsibility. Offer to intern, volunteer, shadow somewhere if not already connected. I really don't know about this. Like, this completely ignores the fact, okay, like, what do you really want to do? And what is your skill set? Because if you just want to, hey, I want to work in the gaming industry, that is not the right approach at all, typically. Because think about, okay, what are you going to do? There are accountants in gaming industry. There are managers, there are developers, there are coders, there are artists. There are so many roles, project managers, product managers. There are so many roles in gaming industry. Like, if you just want to take any role, like quality assurance, anything, just give me something. That's typically not a very useful way to think about your career. A more useful way to think about your career would be, okay, what do you actually want to do? And then find out, okay, where can you get the skills to do that? And then also look at, okay, what is the avenue from this? What is the connection between this and the gaming industry? For example, one thing that I repeatedly hear, visual effects design. If you really want to get into the gaming industry, I would probably go learn visual effects design. That would kind of be a ticket to a lot of places. But of course, you might not want to do visual effects. Then you wouldn't probably be happy doing visual effects in gaming industry either. This answer really doesn't touch upon that, but think about what you really want to do and then figure out how does that connect with the industry you want to be in. And Ahmed Nureldin asked, who is the community manager for North Africa, Middle East, or even for Arabic language? North Africa, Middle East falls into our Europe, Middle East, Asia support, and we will have a creator program published soon where you can apply and submit your information to that region's community manager. Not all our community managers like to be active on social media. It can be rough out here. Yeah, well, the role of community manager. Community managers tend to be, in Hearthstone at least, like very this kind of background figures that maybe sometimes contact like the biggest creators and no one else knows who they are. Well, that's one way to do community management, I guess. Obviously, Alkali has been very active on Twitter and in various Discords and stuff, so she definitely has no problem being active on social media. Then Croak asked, I started creating content on YouTube, then after finding a small following there and here on Twitter, I transitioned to Twitch. I would love to keep doing all of it, but because of time constraints, YouTube is currently on hold to make the stream much better and consistent. Good. And Alkali responds, make a content calendar. If you're serious about content creation, then make a schedule. Make it work, but still fun. Stream should, in general, be over 3 hours, but longer than 6 hours for a lot of streamers isn't always good. So maybe budget time well to still try to fit some YouTube. This advice is partially valid. Yes, there is a lot of research into Twitch streams and into stream length, and yes, between 3 and 5 hours is the optimal stream length, pretty much that. So if you stream for less than 3 hours, it's typically hard to get discovered on Twitch. There's just not enough time for people to actually join your stream. You would probably want to aim for something like 4 hours, so that you're still like fresh, but people also have time to come watch your stream. On the other hand, the discoverability on Twitch is atrocious, and discoverability on YouTube is far better. So I would never advise anyone to just start streaming and grinding that stream. I don't think that is a very functional way to get an audience. What you would want to do is you want to be on platforms where there's better discoverability, especially on YouTube, and then you also want to try to direct that audience to your Twitch stream. So I think you should make a schedule, yes. You should stream for 3 hours or more at a time? Yes, but you should also only schedule as many stream days as you can so that you can also keep pushing content to other platforms, especially on YouTube, where the discoverability is so much better. Her answer is like, it's correct, but it is not complete. Then Tiago Taparelli asked, since joining the Hearthstone team, what initiative you personally championed and or led that you're most proud of? Okay, we get to see what the community team actually does. So many projects are team efforts, so it's hard to answer, but some things that I worked really hard on with the team include bringing Wild to theory crafting, okay, having Super Blindman in theory crafting, and the upcoming creator program. This creator program is something that has been talked about for some months, and well, I don't really know much about it, but we'll see. Adam Noodleman asked, what surprised you the most about this job? How fast it moves. Hearthstone has so much content. My head just spins sometimes at how much. Everything moves at such a fast pace from our side. By the time the community sees something wrap up, we're already well on the next thing. I had no idea. Well, Hearthstone having so much content, it is what it is. Then Norwis asks, do we know exact day when Hearthstone Content Creators Program to apply will go live? Everyone's waiting for that Content Creator Program. And Alkali responded, our goal was for timing around 24.0 launch, but I also mentioned in my interview with Tag Podcast that it could be slightly later. We're on track to fall shortly after 24.0. Things are looking great, but we want to make sure it's fully ready to go. And here's an interesting one from Ariador. What is the thing you value most in content creators? And Alkali's response, tough one, it's so many things. I see value in many types of creators and they affect the community different. I love a good, wholesome, consistent kind of streamer, but I also love the truth tellers who just let us have it. Games need all types. And this is actually something I'm really happy to see, and I think this is something that has changed when Alkali became the community manager, because the previous community manager only tolerated people who were never say anything negative, and that still affects the Hearthstone community a lot, because many of the older content creators who were part of this program already back in those days, they still have this approach of being super positive, super hyped. We get these hype cycles where they hype up the content, hey, this is so good, this is so good, and then when everyone realizes that it's actually not that great, then it takes a long time for them to change their mind and be able to say that, okay, maybe it wasn't the best. And that's completely different from like what Blizzard has done with World of Warcraft, where there's active community of content creators, also of critical content creators. And Hearthstone just lacks that culture, because Hearthstone has been all about shilling for Blizzard in every possible way. But Alkali has been changing those things around, so I'm happy to see that, and I hope that the Hearthstone culture will be able to change. Finally, a question from Vabad. How frequent will these Ask Me Anythings be? Also, how do you try to divide your time between working with content creators in different formats? For example, Standard versus Wild versus Arena versus Battlegrounds versus Duets versus Mercenaries, Mercs represent. And Alkali's response, not sure yet, maybe every few months. And as for creators in different formats, we do our best to spread ourselves around the modes as much as possible. I tend to be more constructed duels Arena active on new expansions, then Battlegrounds Mercs active on those patches. So expecting Alkali to be Mercs active in patch 24.4. You have written it on Twitter now, you can't go back on your word. And well, that concludes this Ask Me Anything. A little bit of something about content creation for Hearthstone, content creation for Blizzard games, community management. Nothing really tangible about the game, about the mechanics of course, but I figured you might be interested in these sorts of news about the Hearthstone community as well. Thank you for watching. Click like and subscribe if you enjoyed this, and a special thanks to all of my Patreon supporters, YouTube members and Twitch subscribers who make all of these videos possible.